Yeah, good morning, every one of you. Um, I'm going to proceed a little further in our class today. I'm going to be taking you some major things, how to import into your React, then how to use states, and I'm also going to tell you how to use possibly properties. I'll compare it with the way you use it in your HTML, in your CSS, in your Bootstrap, and what is actually different when you are using it in your what is it called? When you are using it in your React. So let's go to the page. I believe by now every one of you should be able to at least set up a project with React, and you should be able to view the home page. I remember I told you the first thing is open the folder where you have your project, and that's what I'm actually trying to do now. So you go to the project where you have your project. So just give me 1 minute. So sorry. So the next thing I'm now going to do is that I'm going to open the project. It's actually under Andy Mat. Okay, services. Then I will select the folder. Okay, what is happening? Okay, sorry. So you just that means I'm in another icon here. So just click on the Explorer icon at the top. So when you click on the Explorer icon at the top, you could see that it has opened every of the directories and files that are within the the project. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to off the put my phone on silence. And okay, I think I've done that. Sorry for the distraction. So now I have opened it, and I told you that the first thing is to identify the, I mean, your folders and your subfolders. You could see app, and under my app, I have booking sources, I have all my components that I told you the last time, and I have different folders. So, and I told you that the one that is directly inside your app is your home page, which is page.tsx. So you can have as many as possible page.tss inside different what directory or inside different folders. Can you see? It has its own. Let's look at dashboard. It has its own. So we can have as many as possible what page.tsx, but the major one that is your home page is the one that is directly directly inside your inside your app, the one that is not inside a subfolder. So as you can see, this one now we have page.tsx, and I've opened it, and I told you the last time that you can now use all the components. Look at the component. I have my navbar component, I have my hero component, I have my footer component. So each of these components are separate. So by the time I want to combine it in my what? In my home page, which is page.tss, I will just use less than sign like the tag, normal tag code that you use even in HTML. So navbar, then you close your navbar. And don't forget that the way you identify this is that most time components start with capital letter, camel case. You understand? Or camel. what is it called, Pascal style of actually writing your component. Each word must start with capital letter. So can you see now? I've tagged it. So this is to say that immediately after I've told you about this, immediately after I use my return, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, I can start what? Putting each of my what? Components. But where I'm going today is a little bit different. Uh, I've been able to explain how to create function for you yesterday, but now I want to tell you about imports, how to import. Now, I will explain that on this page. As you can see that any of the components that I've created in my component folders, and sorry, in my component folder is a single folder, and I want to use it. Can you see all the component? I have component for footer, for hero, for navbar, for services, for sidebar, for top bar. Anytime I want to use any one of them, definitely I must import that component. So let's assume I want to import what? So I've started the first part of the class. That is how to import components. Components. So how do you import components? Write import space the name of the component. That is the function name. Let me put it like that. The function name. What did I mean by function name? Yeah, let's look at this component known as navbar. So what is the function name? Function nav what? Bar. Exactly the way it is written, that's how you will use it. Can you see what I'm actually saying? So by the time I want to use it in my page.css, I use the what? The function name navbar. From, you now put the directory dot slash component because it's inside what? Component slash what? The name of the what? Of the function again. Or possibly the name of the what? The name of the component. But you not just put the CSS. Do you understand? So that's the way you do. Can you see I did that for hero, for service, and for footer? Then after that, I didn't do any other thing. And my home page is actually what? Is actually set. Let me show you my home page. And my home page is out. It's actually set. Exactly. Now, I don't want you to miss this. Don't think there is only components we can import. We can import thousands of libraries from the what? From the React package. You understand? That's why anytime we want to run our code, we say npm, abi, node package manager, abi. So you can what? Import any library from there. So I don't want you to feel that, oh, Oga has told us that anytime we want to import what component. No. So let's see how we even created each of these components. So I'm going to use hero section. What is the hero section? Normally I understand in normal HTML we call this one section, but it's hero what components now. So this is the animation components, and I call it hero h in capital letter dot tsx. Let's see how we created it. So that means I'll go to components. I want to use to still explain to you what I mean by import. So it's not only components you import, so you also import other stuffs. So let's say hero. Fine. Now I'm at the hero now. Let's go to the top and let's see how we form this. You will see that most time we still use import at the top of that component. That means this time around, the component that we are saying, we are still importing something for it. I've told you anytime you use what? You use client, the meaning. When you use client, it means that you use what? You use state, you use click, and what is the last one? An event. So you can read the first video that I did on React to actually explain. Anytime you use, and most time you will use it, anytime you use what? State, anytime you use what? Click, that is anytime you will click on something, like your menu now, you have to click to actually for it to open if you're on mobile view. Then anytime you want to use events. What did I mean by event? Like on click, on double click, on type, all those kind of things. On blur, they are all what we call events. So anytime you want to use any of those three things, you must use client, as simple as that. After that, because I know that I will need that in my footer. So that's why the next thing that I started doing is what? I started importing different things that we need. What determines your importation is what you really need in that particular what? In that particular place. Now, if you are looking at this, definitely I will need motion. That's the animation. That's the carousel, I will call it. So because I will need animation, definitely the first thing I will need to do is what? I will import what? Motion. From where? From Framer motion. It's as simple as that. Motion from what? From Framer motion. If I need image, I'll say import image from what? From nest / what? Image. So whatever you will need, you must actually what? You must actually import it. Exactly. So I'm just trying to show you. Let's look at our navbar. Let's see how we imported. Can you see? Import image from this, import link. So now I think you now understand what we mean by import. But now I'm going to dwell more on what we call state. What I call it state. But before I go to state, let me quickly teach you another simple thing that you need to know. Which of my page did I really do that? Okay, I'm coming. Let me look at the navbar component, possibly if I did. Okay, let me look at navbar. Okay, okay, yeah. Now, another simple thing you must understand, even though I've used return, right? I did something here. Now, you will notice that most time in normal HTML, anytime you want to write uh, a CSS, like inline CSS, let me do it for example, you say class, Abi? No. You use style. So don't let me use inline. Let me use when you are using bootstrap classes. You just say class and you use whatever you want to use inside it. But in this case, the way you write it is different. I'm not going to call it class. I'll call it what? Class name. So the N is going to be in what? In capital letter. In what? In capital letter. So that's why you see that I use class name, W full, BG, blah, 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 blah. So these are like, that's what we call tailwind CSS. You can actually read on that for you to actually understand what I'm saying. Let me see if I can also show you one or two things here. Um, let's quickly go and pick this one and tell them I'm busy. Okay, yeah, I will call. Just ask for the person name. I'm in a class. So sorry. So what I'm actually saying in essence now is that anytime you want to write a particular uh, a particular a particular class, you understand, class name, you understand, you must use class name, but the N will be in what? Capital letter. Now, another thing that I want you to know is actually when you're actually trying to state a particular property. And I will use this button as an example before I will go to the state parts. And I will show you different instances in different pages that will really uh, convince you that I'm actually right. Now, for example, now look at this now. After I've used button, I said class name. That means I want to state some classes that it should be hidden. Then tstx1. Then you notice that I say space what? On click, right? Normally if it's in, even if it's in JavaScript or in HTML, what I will do is what? I will say equals quote, Abi. Instead of using quotes, you will be using what? The object feature. This is open what? Curly brace, close what? Curly brace. Is that clear? So you will not be using what? Quote. It won't work. So that's one evidence. Let me see if I can see any other thing like that here that I can use to show you. Uh, Let me go to another page, possibly. Let me go to my login code. Oh, wow. I now see a lot of it here. That's why I came here. looking for one. This one is a function, so this one differs. But let me see. I can see one example here where I use a property. I didn't really see any property here. Okay, look at it. Thank God I have one. On what? On submit. You understand? Equals, can you see? Open curly. So this is also an what? Event. Do you understand? Normally when you are using an event, maybe on click, you say equals quote space what code. But anytime you are using an event like on submit now, we use what? This object symbol, which is what? Open curly brace, close what? Curly brace. Please take note of all these points. These are what we really have. You can't compare with all these ones that you are seeing code. So this is just a class name that for styling. So please don't. And you can't say that because I'm using type. This is normal HTML input space type equals email. This one are normal what? Are normal properties. Can you see? You wrote property there. They are normal property. Normal property. But look at this. Value. Do you understand? On change. Are you following what I'm actually saying? So because on a normal day, the difference between this one and this one is that this is an event. Are you getting me? But this one is actually a normal what? Property. Events and a normal property of of an HTML tag, they are almost very close. The reason why you didn't really see the difference when you are learning HTML is because they are being used the same way. You still use the property name equals quote, Abby. But anytime it's an event like this on change, like this value, you use what? Colibrace. Exactly. Let me see if I will see any other one. This one, if this value, because I guess someone is thinking that I didn't say something about this value. Now, normally, this value that is here, if I just want to say value equals 50 now, you can use equals quote. But this time around, you're actually referencing something that is actually an object about an email. You could see form data. You understand? So that's why you must use object symbol. Please, I think I've explained that. So now let's now move to what we call states. Let's move to what we call states so that I will round up this class. Now, normally you will see that most time the first thing you must understand about states is that we use it immediately after you declare your function. That is export default, right? Space what? Function, space what? Function name. Let me give you an example. That's the way you use export default function. Abi? Function name. Function name is what? Login what? Page. Is that clear? Is that clear? So let's see. Before that, did you use any state? No. Do you understand? No. So that's why this is the meaning of state. You can see that I wrote const. How do you know a state? The way you know a state is that it will start with const, then array symbol, which is square bracket, close square bracket. Let me divide it like this so that you actually understand better. Okay, let me use a simple one. I don't want to use that one. Okay, let me use this one. Yeah, let me use this one. And I'll go to some other ones. Now, let me divide it to two. We have the left operand and the right operand. So what is at the right operand? Use what? State. This use state, you see that is always common. You always use state for the right operand. The only thing is inside this parentheses, you will state the initial value, that is the starting point. Maybe 0, that is starting point. That's why we have different states. We have states that are string. When you see a state that is string, this is the way you will know. Inside this parentheses, you see now this is a state that is a string. Inside this parentheses, after you use the word use state, the use is small letter, the S start with capital letter state. What did you see? Quotes. So it's a string word straight. But when you see a state that you just put false or true, is a what? Is a Boolean state. When you see a state that you use, possibly I just wrote use state parenthesis and I put 0, is a what? Is a number word state. That means the initial value, the starting point is what? 0. The starting point for one state could be what? False, and that one could be true. Do you understand? We also have states that are objects. This is a very good example of states that are objects. Look at this one. You will see that immediately I wrote, I'm coming, I saw it. That's why I ignored it. I don't want to use it. Use state. Can you see email empty? This is a what? A use state that is what? That is an object. Are we following? We can even have use state that is what? That is array. How you will know it that you will see a symbol of array inside inside it. So these are the things that I believe you must know. And that's why I'm actually trying to go through them so that you would get familiar to them. Exactly. So when you see a use state that is actually an array type, I will this is how you will know it. For example, now maybe I said, let me open a file, new file. Let me just say tt.tsx. Let's say tt.tsx. I just want to keep this somewhere so that we'll see it. Now, looking at this, maybe I want to use a use state now. What I will just do is that I will write the left operand. Let me see the right operand now. I said use what? State, open parenthesis, close what? Parenthesis. Exactly. So that means inside this parenthesis, if it's an array type, I'll just put array symbol. That's square bracket. Do you understand? So if it is a what? If it's the one that is object, I'll put object what? Symbol, which is open curly brace, close curly brace. If it's the one that is number, I'll put what? 0. So after I've done that, that's when I will now do the left operand, which is what? Const space. Are you following? So I'll use my square bracket, square bracket. The first one will be name of state. Are you getting me? So maybe let's call it state name. Do you understand? State name. While the next one that you are saying is actually the name of the function. Maybe I want to call it, let me say a better name, which is a standard name that I can actually call it. Okay, someone can actually call it set state name. You understand? Set state name. This one you can give it any name. That's why you will see in that particular example that we did the other time. Look at this one now. What is the, let's compare it with this. Let me copy this and compare it so that you see what I'm actually saying. Now, if I'm going to use this now, we are const, Abby. So what is the state name? Loading. What is the set state name? Set loading. Do you understand? So you must note that. So let me quickly explain the meaning. This is the state name. This set loading is actually the function that you can use to change the value of this name. Do you understand? You are disturbing me. While that's why you notice that this function name, we will use it somewhere at the bottom. So let me prove that so that we'll round up the class so that you can actually read more on it. Now okay, look at this now. You will see that most time you will see them using this thing continuously. Look at this now. I said const loading, set what? Loading. Now, this set loading, you will see me, that's the function. That's the function that I will use somewhere. If it is like now, in this one, set form data is the what? The function name. Let's see where they use this. How will I know? Let me just copy Control C and let me try and find. Let me find Control F, Control V, set form AB. Two of it. The first one is at the top. The second one is what? Is here. Can you see that this is where they use the what? The function. How do you know a function? Immediately you write the function name, open parenthesis, close what? Parenthesis. So this is where they what? They use this function to what? To change the value. You understand? That we declared early about set form data. You understand? About set form data. Are you following what I'm actually saying? So when you understand all these facts, so that by the time I'm using states, you will not be wondering that, Oga, I don't understand why you are what, why you are using state. Now, let me explain state in this sense because I want to round up the class. Look at me. On a normal day, I told you that a React page is made up of what? Of components. Look at me. Oh. Those components are built separately. Are you following me? Those components are what? Are built separately. The component for my navbar, for my hero, for my footer, for service, they are built separately. So this is what React does. React sees state as the helping person that guides it. How? You'll be washing the states. By the time it washes the states, anytime you notice that the state changes, React to what? Will reload or will recompile your project. And this will definitely affect your what? It will definitely affect your UI. That is what I mean by your UI, what people will actually see. So that is why state is one of the most important hook in what? In React. So that's why immediately I finished my import. Looking at this, the next thing that I did is what? I put all the what? All the states. Can you see the top one is what? My import. And the next thing is what? All my what? All my state. Immediately, and I told you, you always put it immediately after you declared your what? Your function. Const router. Const form data. Whatever you know can ever happen within your page, you must state the state at the top. So thank you. See you in the next class.